Good evening, everyone. I would like to call to order the Township Board of Education special meeting for Wednesday, August 11th, 2021. Please stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Smythe, could we have the sunshine statement and roll call, please?
Sir, this is the Wall Township Board of Education, which adequate notice was provided by notice in the CoStar Asbury Park Press, all Wall Township Public Schools, Township Administrator's Office, and the Board Administration Office. Take a roll call. Mr. Gartz?
Here.
Mr. Hall?
He is excused this evening.
Ms. Hotnick?
Here.
Mr. Krupa?
Here.
Mr. Nasser?
Here.
Mr. Sanfilippo?
He should be here momentarily.
Mr. Wondrak?
Here.
Ms. Stites?
She is excused this evening.
And Mr. Adnesi?
Here. Thank you. All right. At this time, we will open up for public comment. Just out of curiosity, how many people plan on speaking this evening? Just raise your hand. Oh, okay. Come up to the microphone and just state your name for the record.
Michelle Burns, Parkwood Drive, Wall Township. I just want to start, I have something written out, but I just wanted to start with something that I experienced today. My daughter is a junior varsity cheerleader in Wall High School, and a few minutes before practice, she received an email to her email, not the parents' email, that they were required to wear masks today at practice indoors because it was too hot outside. So coming here and speaking about, masking our kids, I could not in good conscience just let her go to practice in a mask. So I went into the school with her and I spoke to the coaches. I have a copy of the Executive Order 251 on my phone. I showed them the exceptions to the masking. They had no idea this existed. And they said that the athletic director told them they needed to tell the students to be masked. So I said, I will gladly speak to the athletic director, and they told me that they would handle it. So I waited in the hallway, and the coaches come back like 30 seconds later and say, okay, the kids don't have to wear masks in practice. Thank you so much for bringing this to our attention because we don't want to wear masks either. So that was the experience I had today. 2 days ago, I received a copy of an email that went out to all the members of the NJEA. When I read this email, I became extremely concerned and honestly really pissed off. Apparently, the Biden administration is asking all of the teachers and unions to push the COVID vaccines in their classrooms. And I quote, "We know our students and families trust their educators, and we believe our members will be important messengers on this issue as students head back to school." Made to Save, the organization that partnered with the Biden administration, hosted a 1-hour training session yesterday where attendees would receive useful resources to discuss COVID vaccines with caregivers, students, and others in the community. Since when are schools health clinics? What medical licenses do these teachers have? What gives them the right to talk about personal medical decisions that should only be discussed between a parent and their trusted physician? I spoke to my pediatrician. He has always believed that the government should have no part in a parent's decision how to treat their family medically. He has been in practice for over 50 years. He is board certified, licensed, maintains malpractice insurance. When I asked him how effective the COVID vaccines are, how safe the COVID vaccines are, what are the possible short-term side effects, what are the possible long-term side effects, he very honestly said to me, I don't know. Each body reacts differently. There hasn't been enough time, but we do know there have been 1,249 reports of myocarditis as of July 30th, 2021, in people aged 30 and younger after the Pfizer and Moderna vaccine, particularly in males, previously healthy males. The FDA and CDC have confirmed 716 cases and are still investigating the remaining and increasing reports. From December 14th, 2020 through August 2nd, 2021, VAERS received 6,490 reports of death among people who received COVID vaccines, and severe blood clotting directly linked with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which the Vaccine Task Force and Vaccine Safety Team have confirmed 28 deaths. Remember when one COVID death was too many? The fact that these people think they can discuss vaccine information from a safety aspect is beyond medical malpractice and negligence. It is also a likely misuse of public tax money that funded this training session. Discussing medical procedures or interventions without consent and without a medical license is illegal. God forbid a parent takes the word of a teacher when they told their child the vaccine is safe and effective, and that parent goes ahead with getting their child vaccinated and they have an adverse reaction up to and including death. Who does that parent hold responsible? The NJEA, the school, the individual teacher? Just as a medical professional couldn't or wouldn't pretend they know how to teach a class of 20 students math, reading, or history, do not for one second think it is not insulting to every medical professional who has spent years of training and hundreds of thousands of dollars on their education for a teacher to discuss vaccine safety in their classroom. How many teachers in our district took this training class? I would like to think 0, because they know the parents in this community would not stand for or tolerate this overreach of power and trust.
Ms. Burns?
Yes.
Your 5 minutes are up.
Oh, please, please.
We have a lot of people this
Can
evening.
other people give me their time? No.
Sorry. Can you email it to the board as well?
I will.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Kim Housling, Wall Township. The parents in this community would not stand for this or tolerate this. This overreach of power and trust. I am also a part of the class action lawsuit challenging Governor Murphy's EO 251, which mandates masking in the indoor permission of all schools or premises of all schools in New Jersey. I am requesting that Mr. Cleaver please request a stay of the EO number 251 until the class action lawsuit to bar the mask mandate, docket number 21-CV-13271-KM-JSA, is settled in court. Public health officials claim that masks stop the spread of COVID-19. August 9th, Fauci stated that hopefully making our kids wear face masks won't have any lasting negative impact on them. Whereas studies, Johns Hopkins reported that out of the $42 billion the National Institute of Health spent on research last year, less than 2% went to the COVID clinical research, and not a single grant was dedicated to studying masks in children. According to the CDC, 195 people ages 0 to 17 and 1,417 people ages 18 to 29 died in the U.S. as a result of the COVID-19. Of course, they don't include the comorbidities these children may have had associated with these deaths. Even so, these numbers hardly constitute a pandemic among school-age children. As I have said repeatedly in the past, every adult that is employed by the school has had ample time to fully get vaccinated if they choose to. The vaccine protects the individual who got it. If you believe this vaccine works, then you have zero reason to be afraid. Our children are not responsible for the spread of COVID. They are not asymptomatic spreaders. I will not allow my children to be treated like they are responsible for transmitting a virus they don't have. Governor Murphy has led the state of New Jersey to the #1 spot, #1 in COVID deaths in the nation. His draconian mandates and clear overreach of power have done more harm than good. That is clear. We were supposed to flatten the curve, keep our hospitals from getting overrun. We have done that. The pandemic is over. Go out to any restaurant, bar, packed concert. It is clear the pandemic is over. Cases do not constitute a pandemic. Deaths do. Nurses and doctors that worked through the pandemic without protection other than their PPE are now being told if they do not take an experimental vaccine, they will be fired. Proves to me there is no longer a pandemic. It's always been about the money. Pfizer generated $3.5 billion of revenue in the first 3 months of this year alone. The 7-day average of COVID deaths in New Jersey is 6. and one in Monmouth County as of yesterday. And remember, our state government is great at leaving out pertinent information regarding comorbidities in patients. Since deaths have become so low, they will now use cases to keep people scared. What will our options be for the upcoming school year? Take a survey among parents. Masks optional must be allowed. Those individuals who still feel afraid should be able to learn at home. Every child has the right to a public education. Finally, I do not consent for any educator to discuss medical interventions or procedures with my children in a public school setting. I do not consent for my children to be in a mask all day when they clearly do not stop the spread of any virus and do more physiological, psychological, mental, and emotional harm than good. The fact that there are exceptions to be unmasked in school settings, such as eating, drinking, playing an instrument, physical activities, proves again how useless the masks are. Appreciate the letter written by the BOE to Governor Murphy demanding it lifted up the individual to districts. If I have learned one thing from this whole experience, it is to advocate for our children. Power in numbers. We can make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cindy Loesch, Garfield Street. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Adonisio for writing the letter to the governor asking him to rescind EO 251. Mrs. Handerhan, we need you to send a letter as well if you haven't done so already. This executive order takes away the rights of the board, parents, etc. We all need to fight this. Today is the last day to join the lawsuit against EO 251. Please email info@jerseyoneFirst.org. I was raised in Wall and graduated from here 20 years ago. Overall, my experience was positive, and I have some lifelong friendships. I was excited my kids would attend the same elementary school that I did. My daughter was supposed to be going into first grade at Central, but I don't feel comfortable sending her. Breathing in your own carbon dioxide all day long is not healthy. Extended periods of wearing masks atrophy our immune system, the operating system of our health. She has come home with chocolate pudding all over her mask. I always provide her with an extra one to change into, but she was too scared. On about June 7th, she got off the bus and I asked her how her day was. She said it was the worst day in the mask because she couldn't breathe. I was ready to complain, but then Mrs. Handerhan sent out an email easing restrictions. If the governor doesn't change his mind, I'm going to unenroll. It's everyone's job here to fight. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, don't be afraid.
Good afternoon, board members and superintendent of schools. Allison Ebrins, Wall Township. I come to you today as a Wall resident. I'm a mom of 3 girls, and I'm also been an educator for the past 17 years. And I have the privilege of working in New Jersey as an educator for the past 13 years. We were very excited to have my daughter start school in Wall, which is why we moved here. But unfortunately, in 2020, I had to remove her and provide homeschool instruction. She was successful and able to learn how to read, and we were very excited again to start school this year. I want to thank the board for both speaking out and making masks optional before the governor rescinded and created a new executive order. And I also want to thank the board for speaking out against this order. However, I would urge the board members and the superintendent to take it a step further. It should be the burden of the state to provide unequivocal evidence that masks are helpful, not harmful. Because if there is no evidence provided to the board members and the parents, how can we prove, or how can the state prove that this is even something that's helpful? I could think of many other strategies that would be, for example, using funding to reduce class sizes even further, hiring more teachers, continuing to discuss hygiene practices and implementing them, and keeping your child home when they're sick. Again, I feel that covering our child's face should be the last resort, if any. And if the state cannot provide you or our parents with the substantial data and proof that the masks are the only mitigation strategy, you have an obligation to protect our children and stand with the parents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good
Mark
evening.
Fitzpatrick, Helen Street. I came at the last meeting to speak up for my son. I came specifically today to thank you. I'm glad to hear a lot of people doing it. Was afraid that you guys were only going to get the negative and not the positive, so I do appreciate the letter and the other things that you guys have done. I also thought it was a giant gut punch after everything I'm sure all of these parents and you guys have been through. And then for Governor Murphy to do what he do, it's just ridiculous. I put you guys in an unbelievable position when you have all of these parents who are fighting and you guys are working with them and you guys are, getting arrows slung at you. So I wanted to come here and really just say, I feel like you guys heard me. I thank you very much. And just please continue to fight for what you feel is right. I don't know how many of you follow the news. East Brunswick mayor stood on his podium as a physician and said that the East Brunswick municipal employees must be vaccinated by a certain date or risk being fired. Well, he has recently rescinded that and has basically gone through and pointed out a lot of the facts that people are saying here today. I don't want to jump ahead right now. My wife happens to be a teacher. She's afraid that she's going to get forced to take the vaccination as well. Looking down the road, are we looking at kids getting forced to get vaccinated? Like I said, those are topics for the future, but if you don't start fighting now, then you don't have anything to stand on then. We have to stop this now, and I thank you very much for the stance that you've taken. Please continue to fight for us. We will stand behind you. We will show up where we need to show up, and I will do what I have to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else for public comment? No? So-
Hello.
Hello.
Patty Nowalski. First of all, I just want to tell everyone here and anyone watching on a Zoom, I had the pleasure of having a nice phone call this morning, not only with Ralph, but with Dr. Handerhan. So we have communication. Dr. Handerhan emailed me back this week, and Ralph was startled that I had his phone number.
But no, I wasn't afraid.
Nope.
You said
Called
that.
me
I
right
wasn't
away.
afraid.
Ralph and I have a lot of things in common, more than we know, and we could probably have a couple of drinks and discuss a lot of things going on in our country, and it's a sad, sad time we're in right now. But I just want to talk about one thing. You guys are all on the Board of Ed. You took an oath to be on the Board of Ed. By part of that process, includes an oath of office, correct? You all swore and affirmed to an oath to uphold the Constitution of the state and the country in accordance with Title 41 of the State Code. You know the Constitutions protect our rights. One of those rights is the right to a public education by all students. You cannot deny a student a public education. You can't have any student come to your door and close it. So where does that draw the line with a mask? You come to a door with no mask on, then you send the student away. One's a law, one's a mandate. It's 25 miles an hour in front of the school, correct? That's just the law. You have to wear your seatbelt. That's a law. It's not a mandate. There's a big difference. So where do we draw the line of stopping and not letting our children in school? So with that said, Article 6, Section 2 of the Constitution, otherwise known as Supremacy Clause, states that federal constitution is the supreme law, the law in the land, and anytime a state makes a law and contradicts the federal constitution, it's notwithstanding. So your job now is, with your lawyers, is to figure out where do we draw the line with our kids. We cannot deny our kids a public school education. I sent Ralph today the lawsuit info. Part of the lawsuit info that's going on in New Jersey is trying to get school boards on it and to join it. Right now, North Hunterdon, Voorhees, Brick, Point, Belmar, Manasquan, Middletown, Jackson, and Barnegat are interested. Brick, I just found out on my way here, is in the lawsuit now. Pineland, Central, Berkeley, Manchester are all in the lawsuit. And every day, a Board of Ed is joining the lawsuit. I know this sounds crazy, and I don't want to get all historical, but if you think about the 1960s, there was a law that said blacks could not ride on a bus, and Rosa Parks said no. And guess what happened? It changed. We have to say no. You can't keep saying it's a mandate, it's a law, we have to follow them. If we don't stop here, you know what happens next year? It's a vaccine mandate. What happens with a vaccine mandate? You guys are going to say, it's out of our hands. It's a mandate. No, it has to stop now. We have to tell Murphy, no, these are our kids. This is our district, and we're protecting our kids. We as a district are going to stand up and say no. I know you're worried about the money, but there's a lot of money in Wall. We'll have a GoFundMe. We'll have a carnival. We'll have a concert. You name it. I've run a gift auction. I raised more money in Old Mill the 3 years that I did the gift auction than they did any year before. And I'm sorry Chris Stites isn't here to hear that, because I did. But I did it because it's for the kids. And guess what? Everybody loves a good time, and everybody loves a gift basket, and everybody loves a cocktail. So we can do it. I love the communication that's been happening. I thought the last meeting was great with Mr. McKeever. I thought everybody asking questions was great. I think coffee with the superintendent moving forward would be great. I thought a Q&A will be great. I think we can all communicate better. One thing I told Dr. Hanrahan, and I don't know if you agreed with me, was we're in all Zoom meetings. You guys were all Zoom, and we're all waving, saying hi in Zoom. The first couple meetings we got in public were small until the mask thing. And then we all attacked because we were all mad and you guys didn't know what to do. And it was really unfair. And I feel bad. But I think now we all know we need to calm down, respect each other, communicate, and do a better job by our kids. Because this is what it's about, right? We're not here for ourselves. We're here for the kids, correct? We're here for the kids. The last thing I want to say is on the lawsuit, one thing they said is that if we get all the schools on board and fight Murphy, then he's not going to shut down every school. He's going to have to accept that we're all fighting him. So he's going to look bad. And I think it's very interesting that Dr. Hanrahan sends a letter out, and we're all happy, and he crushes it. What did you say, Ralph? He threw a grenade?
A grenade. It could be, actually, I think it's more like a stink bomb.
A stink bomb, and blew it all up after she tried her hardest to do the right thing for our kids. And then he jetted off to Italy. So that's not calling the kettle black. I don't know what is. So I just want this to stop. I'm in a mandate, right? I'm in a predicament with work. I have to get vaccinated by October 25th for my job, or I'll lose my job. I don't want my kids to be in the same predicament. I have to fight myself, and I'm fighting for my kids. And I'm really happy and hopeful you guys will fight for our kids too. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else for public comment?
Marissa Pitius, Martin Road. My husband and I are both long-term residents of Wall Township, going on 40 years. We both grew up here and went through the entire Wall Township School District. We have 3 kids in Wall, all of which have IEPs, 2 are for speech, and 1 is for ADHD. Mask wearing is not conducive to either of those situations, and that is why I feel compelled to speak up tonight in favor of a pro-choice option, as one size does not fit all. I was very pleased to see the district's response letter to Executive Order 251 this morning, and I feel it is a necessary step in the right direction, but there will be many more necessary steps to come. We have to remember that executive orders are not laws, and we cannot become complacent. We have to keep fighting for the sake of our children, because I'm afraid of what's to come. What freedoms will be taken away next? I can assure you, if we do not join together and stand up to Governor Murphy now, the next executive order will be one requiring vaccines for children in school, recreational sports, and probably some form of a vaccine passport. If that were to happen, I would bet you that this room would be overflowing with parents raising a lot more hell than now, and many more unenrollments would be expected. So I'm asking this board to keep standing up to Murphy and his tyranny, join other neighboring districts and file a stay with the courts on the mask mandate, sue the governor and his administration if you have to, fight to give the parents the choice to mask or unmask, fight to give the parents the choice whether to vaccinate or not, and also whether to do virtual or not. We as parents need to be able to decide what is best for our children, with your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else for public comment?
Sorry I'm late. I listened to it in the car, though. Everybody was fantastic. I don't know if I can add anything to what they've said, but you need to join in the class action suit. What I find frustrating is people send in emails and nobody replies. I'm glad that Patty got a phone call today, and you know, everybody has Ralph Adonasio's cell phone number. It's just that when you send things in writing to him, he just never replies. So this entire meeting should be broadcast tonight, not just public comment, the entire 2-hour session following. Because it's important that we all hear and can go back and watch. I have to go to a church service after this, and I'm going to say a prayer for America, because we are in a very, very bad place right now, and I just don't think these people sitting up here are going to get us out of it. You need to keep standing up to the governor, or we are going to keep coming here and keep writing you over and over and over again. So I know we have a couple people out. I heard Joe has an excuse, Christine has excused. Last meeting, I think Russell was out, but we didn't hear was excused. We need people here. And if you can't be here, then just resign now. Because there's a lot to do in the next 3 weeks. And people are trying to decide if they are going to send their children to Wall Township, or maybe you will pay to send them somewhere else. Because I am in that boat. I am not going to unsafely put my kid in this district ever again. Ever again. And if it's not safe here, you can pay for him to go somewhere else. As everybody knows, I'm trying to get it out on Facebook as much as I can that I filed a lawsuit. And I am winning on every single count. And Mr. Smythe has his head down, writing away as he always does. But it's going to get very expensive. And you are not turning over documents. We are not sure if you're tampering with documents, which is going to be a very big offense. So you need to turn over these emails. You need to unredact documents. And the judge has already asked for them in an in-camera review. I wish I did this a year ago, because I would have won a year ago. But I was giving you the benefit of the doubt, Ralph, and you completely let everyone down. Everyone down. So enough in the spotlight on the news. You didn't get an email out to the parents about what you wrote to the governor. The first thing you should do is have Tracy Handrahan's name on it and be involved, and then it should go out to the parents. You shouldn't be all over the news. It's ridiculous. And you're not replying to emails. So this whole meeting today should be live streamed until 8 o'clock tonight, so I can go back and watch it after church, and then my son is singing somewhere else. So I want to watch every minute of it, and we don't need to have people here live streaming it, because we pay a lot of money for technology here. In the lawsuit, there were emails regarding Colin McIntosh, and they were supposed to be returned and they were supposed to be worked on first, and the district did not do it. So I have elevated it, elevated it, elevated it, elevated it. And now you've got a big problem, because now I see the attorney's giving you back $52,000 on the Central School trailer investigation. They should be giving back the entire $114,000, because they issued an opinion piece not on business letterhead for their company, Scarillo, Merlino, McKeever, and they didn't sign it. And that Zoom call of September 22nd, those 6 minutes are so important that now all your documents need to be turned over. So they can go to the comptroller's office, they can go to the US Attorney General, but they need to be looked at. And maybe like Governor Cuomo resigned, maybe we'll have some resignations here pretty quick. So you have documents you need to get over to the judge, and you didn't send them in on time. And then you ask for extension upon extension upon extension. I am not having the taxpayers pay these attorney bills for you to do this. So get these documents turned over and get these schools open. And if the kids have to wear masks, when they get in the building, when they
Thank
sit
you,
at
Ms.
their
Cross. Your
desk,
time is
they
up.
should take
Thank
the
you.
mask
Your time is
off.
Up. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Lynn Masson, 1628 Rustic Court. Patty asked the important question, the answer that I wanted. What will happen if we send our kids without masks? Is there something, you've discussed it? Have the schools, the principals, what actually will happen to the children?
We'll answer questions once you're done.
Okay, so I would like the answer to that question. The other question I have is, I saw in the executive order, Governor Murphy does say there are exceptions, exemptions, when it is dangerous to the students. It was done at the end of last year. I'm assuming it can be done in September in the warm weather while we continue to fight to get rid of this mandate, but in the meantime, at least in September, they can go maskless because of the hot weather. So again, that's something I would like answered. I think everybody would like. And one final thing about the quarantine. I was wondering, like last year, if a child did test positive and the entire class had to sit out for 2 weeks. But now it seems like there's no virtual option. Is that going to still be the case? Because I don't feel it's fair if a child does not have COVID, does not have any symptoms, is not sick, do they have to stay home where they can't even log on virtually? I can't see how that could be allowed. So that's another question I have. And just to confirm that we are continuing on with full day. Okay. So, and finally, I do want to thank you for the letter that you wrote to the governor. That really meant a lot to all of us parents that you're fighting with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Handerhand, would you like? Well, okay. All right. We'll get the rest and then we'll answer that.
Hi, Jessica Ludwig, Wall Township. I really am here to support and echo everything that's been said about the masks. I mean, there's so much evidence that the masks are so unhealthy for our kids. There's very little masks on the, to support the evidence to support them. I want to know what you're going to do when you have hundreds of kids show up on the first day with no masks, because I can tell you that's what I'm hearing. And then I just want to ask also, all this talk about the lawsuit and joining the lawsuit and time is of the essence. I'm not sure if the deadline is today or tomorrow, but can we get a vote on that tonight? You have to decide tonight or it's going to be too late. So can the board vote on issuing a stay and joining the lawsuit? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else for public comment? Seeing none, we will close public comment.
Sorry, I know I spoke for Michelle, but you guys are answering questions? If I have a question?
Do you have a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, unfortunately, I did unenroll my son because I just don't have any trust right now into the public school system, but if there is any kind of tax credit or anything of that nature that can be helpful to the parents who decide that they feel safer choosing a different path than public schools. Private school is very expensive. I actually myself would rather spend that money in Wall Township to have my son have an education that that goes with our values, knowing that he's going to be safe, not masked, and not vaccinated. Unfortunately, I had to unenroll him because I don't trust the public school system right now.
Okay.
That's it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Henderson.
Yes, I can certainly address some of the questions. One question was regarding a full day. We are absolutely planning and intending to open school full day in September. So that has always been our plan. That continues to be our plan. And it was noted in the letter that I did send home prior to Governor Murphy's announcement. That is still very much the case. We have, One thing I would like to say is that the schools did not get any advance notice regarding what was leaked out to the media Thursday night. In fact, some of us were like, well, why should we hear it from media? Maybe it's just a hoax. We did not hear until formally from the press release that took place on Friday at 1 p.m. And that was followed up by the executive orders being sent to us by our respective county offices. So with that, there has not been much time for us to really craft specific responses, but I will say that we will be in school full session. With respect to virtual education and quarantine, the governor made it very clear that students do not have the choice at this moment, to elect to have their children learn virtually. However, that said, a school district, if we are in a position where we are preventing a child from coming to school, just as we are obligated. So if a class is quarantined or if a student is quarantined because of COVID, we will be live streaming that class. So those of you that are, I believe all the schools before the end of the school year last year experienced a live stream. So there is certainly a plan for that. And that was whether we were mask optional or not, that was always in the plans. So I feel very confident saying that we will continue with that practice, because one of the hardest things that you can do is tell a child that they cannot come to school. Our principals, our vice principals were in the most unenviable positions to really, a child sat next to someone in their classroom, and they were told that you need to quarantine. That's a very difficult conversation. It's made even more so difficult without providing educational resources for that child during the quarantine. So I will tell you that is very much, regardless of mask status, that is very much in place. With respect to, I did hear a question regarding a tax credit for families that are looking to enroll their children in a private school. To my knowledge, there is not that ability. There is something called a school choice, however, a school choice program where students can, there are certain school districts throughout the state of New Jersey that have applied to become New Jersey choice schools. However, these choice schools are also public schools, and they do require. So as far as public money to assist with, electing to educate your child elsewhere, that is the only program that I am aware of. So that is the choice school. The other is, there are two questions regarding what are the schools going to do when children show up without masks. And I will tell you that this is, again, this is very uncharted territory. It's uncharted certainly from a legal sense, because we're in the business of bringing kids to school, not keeping them out of school. So with that said, I know Monmouth County superintendents, we are very actively trying to get straight answers from the DOE. We're trying to get answers certainly legally, because we are in, and one of you mentioned, one of the individuals at public comment, that these are uncharted waters right now, and I wish I had a definitive answer for you right now. I don't have one, because I don't know what that's going to look like. Schools are obligated to follow, we're obligated to follow executive orders. There's certainly positions, this Board of Education has taken a position. We actually showed our cards with our plan, a few days before the governor's announcement came out. I will tell you, this summer, it was fantastic to see children learning in class, laughing and smiling. It was. I feel kind of selfish that I feel selfish that I was one of the few that got to actually see that in action. And this is an incredibly difficult time. It is. legally, we're talking uncharted land. So I hate that I don't have a definitive answer for you, and it's August 11th. I can tell you that there, like I said, Monmouth County superintendents across the state are working on getting answers because, and you know, as certainly our participants this evening and our audience this evening, this is not a wall issue. This is not only a wall issue, and we recognize that. And you know, again, and one of the participants tonight mentioned we're going to have to, you know, meet with our attorneys on this because we're going to have to because, you know, there's nothing in the superintendent, you know, handbook that they give you when you get your license that here you go. None of this has been in that handbook. So with that, I'm answering you as completely as I can, and you know, I'm going to try to provide as much communication as I possibly can. Communication is something that I absolutely value. You perhaps might feel differently over the past year. I will tell you that, you know, I wish there were more hours in the day. I truly do. And I'm grateful for this summer because the schedule, you know, while it's jam-packed, it has allowed me the opportunity to reach out, have conversations with families, and really hear what the community is saying. And, you know, we're in an interesting place. And I hope I provided as much of a response as I possibly could have, given the short amount of time.
Yeah, so just our pandemic response team will be meeting again to redo the plan that they spent the whole summer working on that pretty much got blown up in the matter of seconds, correct? Please don't yell out.
Well, there's district pandemic response teams, and then there's individual pandemic response team at each of the individual facilities. These individuals are on the website, and they're on the COVID-19 tab. So, Mr. Adeniso, you are correct. We will be meeting because we spent a lot of time communicating amongst one another, and this needs to be reevaluated. But we also need to receive the appropriate guidance and updated information and clarification from a legal standpoint. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
I don't know if can I ask another question following that? I just know, do you have to wait for Monmouth County, or can one decide on its own what we're going to do?
We cannot decide something like that. Yes. 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 The problem, and we said this at a previous board meeting, is that we live in a state where businesses were attacked financially. People were, I mean, in New York, I think they arrested people. We live in a time that's absolutely insane. And not knowing, you know, on a Thursday evening, as Dr. Handerhan said, report comes out, and then Friday at 1 o'clock, the governor throws out this executive order and then takes off for Italy, and then there's really no guidance behind it. It's saying that you have to follow this, but what happens with everything else? And that's the problem we're in right now. Everything else has to get figured out. So that's what the attorney's looking into, that's what the county superintendent's looking into, and I believe the county superintendents as well. So it's just not here in Wall Township, it's throughout the state of New Jersey. I had board members from other districts reach out to me today, and they feel the same way. I mean, again, you guys vote for us. We're here to make decisions in the best interest of the students and the staff of Wall Township. The same way people are elected in the 500 and something other school districts in New Jersey. And when you take that home rule away, what do you need people here doing, or municipal government? You know, we might as well just have one person make all the rules. So as we go forward, we will navigate this, and we will continue to advocate for home rule as it should be, and move forward. And one other thing I'd like to say, the letter that went out just wasn't from me. It was from the 8 other board members that served with me. Everybody had input into it. That conversation started actually Thursday night when the first little bit of information was leaked out. We all started jotting down notes, conversations with everybody, a couple different revisions, and we were able to put something out that I think clearly states how we feel, and certainly echoes what a lot of other school districts are saying, because I got feedback and other school districts boards asking for copies of it. So we will continue to advocate for our district. So in regards to legal issues, by law, we can't talk about legal issues. We're going to have that conversation with our attorney, which I will be having, and see if that's something that we can do or cannot do.
I have the case number and everything. I can email.
Please email it to me. Okay. Okay, thank you. All right, at this time, we will move on to the superintendent's report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Admisio. I would like a
Point of order.
I would like to request a motion to approve by consent agenda items A and B.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Gart, second. Ms. Hodnett, any discussion? Yes, Ms. Hodnett. We have a roll call, please.
Mr. Gartz?
Yes.
Ms. Hodnett?
Yes.
Mr. Krupa?
Yes.
Mr. Nasser?
Yes.
Mr. Sanfilippo?
Yes.
Mr. Wondrak? Yes. And Mr. Adnisio?
Yes, but I'm going to abstain from testing and IEP meetings for the portion that pertains to my family member. Okay. At this time, could we have a motion to adjourn for 5 minutes?
Motion for recess.
Motion, Mr. Gartz. Second.
Seconded.
Second.
Second, Ms. Hodnett. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.